Welcome back in the hall. Glad to have you here. Don't miss an episode. Hit that subscribe button. They come out every Monday, sometimes Tuesday afternoon, depending on how late I was out the night before. And yeah, man, I had a fun episode. Talked about Gator removal services, women who are attracted to killers, and firefighters having way too much free time on their hands. So all that and more. Enjoy episode 36.
You want to smoke something?
You've seen him perform all over LA. Give it up for Sean Madden, everybody.
What have we got here? A fucking comedian.
This joke's not going to go well. Gotta let it fly.
I drove by a wreck yesterday, and not going to go into the details, but it was a mess. Okay, there was things facing the wrong way, both cars and limbs. You know, you had your first responders doing their thing, EMT making sure everyone was breathing. You know, the cop was getting that statement from the guy, you know, just on the side of the road being lied to. See, what happened, officer, was this guy just kind of came out of nowhere. And, you know, I hit the brakes, but, you know, I guess they weren't good enough, and I ended up spinning out and, you know, just making shit up. No one ever admits that the accident was their fault. For once, I just want to meet the honest guy. You're like, oh, I totaled my car. You're like, oh, what happened? He's like, oh, you'll never believe this. The light turned red, and I just fucking kept going. T-boned a family of 5. They didn't even see me. You know, it's never that. It's usually like, oh, my brakes were faulty. It's like, no, you were sending a tweet. You know, no one's ever like, oh, yeah, officer, I was just, I was doing 90 on the highway. Figured I'd check to see how many likes that sushi I had for lunch got. And, yeah, just, you know, one minute I was putting hashtag no filter. The next minute my air conditioning filter was flying down the highway. I had to roll about 10 times. I don't know, 10 or 11 times. A lot of honking, though. You writing this down? You never meet that guy. It's just like, oh, yeah. I didn't see him. There was a blind spot. Whatever, dude. Yeah, they have the firefighters there also. You know, I love watching the firefighters because they're just usually standing around showing each other memes. Excuse me. Like if the fire is out, if there's no active fire, the firefighters are like, all right, let us know if you see a flame. We'll go back to spraying water at it because that's our job. You know, if there's no active fire, they'll just kind of stand back and be like, hey, hey, Frankie, you think McGregor's ever going to fight again? If they put out the burning car, they just kind of talk about how many significant strikes were in the last UFC match. And I always thought firefighters were like a cool job. As a kid, you're like, oh, man, you get to drive this big red truck and spray fire. But really, firefighters just kind of barely work to begin with. And I mean this with all due respect. You know, firefighters are never at work. And that's just from, like, my experience. One of my friend's dad, one of his dads, I almost said. One of my friend's dad was a firefighter, and he was always home. You know, my friend would be like, hey, you're not at the station tonight, Dad? And he's like, nah, I go back Monday. I'm injured. He was always injured playing pickup basketball at the fire station. You know, he got injured. He injured his shoulder doing a layup, not carrying an elderly couple out of a senior living facility engulfed in flames. You know. And before anyone comes at me, you know, I don't need a message going, oh, my brother's a firefighter. He's a local hero. He pulled a puppy back out of a PetSmart in 98. All right. I'm not saying firefighters aren't great people and they put out fires, if there ever is a fire. But most of them just want to eat meatballs, play Xbox, and show up to a couple parades thrown in their honor. And now they're just throwing up in a trash can outside a bar. I'm just speaking from experience. All right, I worked at a bar in Long Island, New York, to survive the unlivable costs of living in New York City. So I would drive from Brooklyn out to the island, work 3-4 nights a week. The rest I would do stand-up, And that's what paid the bills, man. You can make probably $1,000 in 3 days, 4 days if you hustled right. And yeah, man, it was good. Did that, and just trying to figure out how to get stage time. And that was most of the business, was firefighters, firemen, firewomen, whatever. Yeah, every week they had a parade. All the fire trucks would be out there, guys hanging off, holding a beer, woohoo, yelling O'Doyle rules for some reason. I don't know what that means. Someone's always playing the bagpipes, silencing out the racial slurs. That's why the bagpipe were invented, by the way. It's to eliminate the hard R. Bagpipes are fire, though. Definitely see how you can get drunk to that. But yeah, I worked at this bar and they had a parade just like every week, man. And they had all the vehicles out there. Like, this is every truck in the county right here. This parade is beautiful. I'm like, who is going to be able to put out a fire right now? Everyone's hammered. All the trucks are here. If you lived in that town, you better have a high-pressure hose, high-pressure garden hose, because you're on your own, buddy. You got to get yourself out of that burning vehicle on the side of the highway with a slow gas leak, because ain't nobody coming. I blame TV for really making it look like every day a firefighter is running into a burning skyscraper, grabbing a crying child as the ceiling caves in, handing it back to the mom. She's like, "Oh, you're so brave. God bless you, sir." He puts his helmet back on. He's like, "I'm just doing my job, ma'am." Runs back into the flaming hotel, and then the credits roll. It's like, dude, it is not like that. That's so unrealistic. First of all, there's not that many fires. Okay? All these shows are like, there's a fire downtown every day. Okay? If there were that many fires in a city, people would start questioning the builders. Okay? They'd be like, "Hey, who the fuck is doing the electrical work downtown? All these buildings are bursting into flames when the fax machine gets turned on." Every opening scene in these shows is like, Frank, the main character, he's getting some stew out of a crock pot. Another fireman, Tommy's, he's licking his fingers at the table. He's like, "These are good meatballs, Frank." He's like, "The best. It's my grandmother's recipe." She's like, "Oh, she must have been a good woman." Then the alarm goes off and they're like, "Damn, I was enjoying these." And they look into the camera and they're like, "Time to save lives." And that's exciting TV. They're not going to show they're only going to show the one day out of the year where they actually go put out a fire. And it's probably just like a cigarette that was thrown into a bush. It wasn't like a heroic fire. You know what I mean? But that's exciting TV. They're not going to put, they're going to put the nights where there are no emergencies on TV. The real show should be like, "Whoa, these are good meatballs, Frank. It's my grandma's recipe, and don't worry, there's plenty more up here if you want more." Guy's like, "Oh, man, I'm already so full from the cookies I ate that Lady Ruth brings over." It's like firemen just eat cookies. There's always old women bringing cookies to the fire station as I spill water all over. I think I spill some on me every episode. Must be the way like the mic's angled. I try to like bring the cup in sideways and just splash it off my bottom lip. It's a good look. But yeah, dude, they're just mainly playing Xbox. They're like, "Hey, hope there's no fires tonight, Tony, because I got the new Call of Duty. I heard the zombies is a fun time." But that's not good TV. Watching a blockhead dude play Xbox for 5 hours in that blue t-shirt with sauce stains on it. So once again, I'm not saying all firefighters are lazy alcoholics. Okay? That's not true. Are the ones that I've met lazy alcoholics? Absolutely. That's true. Okay? Every kid that I know that went to firefighter college or school, whatever it is, was the stoner in high school. It's like a 2-day course to become a firefighter. I remember they all posted it at the same time. They're like, day 1 of firefighter training. There's just a picture of them with all the gear on. It's way too big because they haven't done enough push-ups. The heaviest thing they've lifted is the bong. Like day 2 of firefighter training. It's just a picture of them like fucking flipping off the camera in like some fake stairwell. Day 3, they're like, here's my graduation certificate. Fuck yeah. There's like ground up weed on the diploma or degree, whatever bullshit certificate they give you. And I'm just joking here. I know I know you need firefighters and all that, but they definitely have way too much downtime. Not that comedians don't, but hey, I'm not calling myself a hero for going up on stage 15 minutes at a time. Okay. I'm not expecting a parade and here come the comedian, I've put out fires metaphorically, like bar fights. I've calmed people down from the stage next to a pool table. Yeah. Every firefighter I knew was like a pothead. One of the kids, I'm not going to say his name. I'll say his name. I don't give a shit. But he brought pot brownies on a field trip. And I didn't do like edibles back there or anything, but definitely like unregulated. He brought like 5 trays of brownies. And the bus driver and the chaperone were like, "Hey, can we have some?" And you can't deny the adults brownies if all the kids are eating them. You can't be like, "Oh, these are kid brownies." That's suspicious. So, dude, he just let some like mom and the bus driver just get fucking smacked. I remember the bus driver just pulled over and she's like, "I don't know what was in those brownies, but I can't go any longer. We're going to have to get another driver." And then just some like soccer mom sprawled out in the front seat, just like, what were in those? Probably on like 200 milligrams. It's crazy, dude. I wouldn't buy a house in that neighborhood alone, just based off that. Like wherever these kids that I went to school with are firefighting, okay, I wouldn't go there. Okay, knowing, God forbid, your house goes up into flames, Garrett is coming. Here comes Garrett. Don't worry. If he's not sliding down the fireman pole and then going back upstairs to slide down it again because it's fun while someone's locked in their car on the highway. Hey, don't worry. Garrett's coming before he's got to get that last bong rip in. This kid brought brownies on a field trip, lit the bus driver up, and now he's gonna come save you. Some kids on that bus, they're like, "We just want to go to the science museum. Oh, you ruined the trip." Dude, I'll never forget the chaperone. Just like, she had this groan of like, she was enjoying the high, but at the same time, she's never gotten hit like that before. She was just like, it was like Jonah Hill from Wolf of Wall Street, like the Steve Madden. We're like, all right, I don't think you're going to be chaperoning anything. This dude's going to come put out a fire after 2 days of training with a super soaker and a can of silly string. No disrespect to firemen, firewomen, but let's be real. If you're listening to this as a firefighter, you're not doing it. Chances are you're not listening to this on the way to a fire. Okay? You're pulling the ice cream out of the firehouse fridge. It's probably not even yours. It's Carl from the other shift, but you guys don't cross paths, so he'll never know. Yeah, the firefighters I've been around, they weren't pulling kids out of fires. Okay? They were pushing their own kids into a fire so they could spend more time at a bar. I remember the chief of the fire department was always there. He had the same seat. You know, the chief of the entire operation. The bar was on Main Street. It was right around the corner from the firehouse. So his radio would be on. You hear like, shh, this is Red 1. We're en route. And then since the bar was on Main Street, all, you know, the fire trucks would be flying by and the whole place would just light up with sirens. And he would just shut the radio off, you know, and tell you that, you know, he'd be like, Red 1, we're en route. We got a family on fire. And he'd just like shut it off and be like, yeah, I think if the Jets get their offense together, they can do something with the playoffs. Oh man, I get such like a. I don't ever do those. Yeah, what's up, Tony? I don't do that during the day. So like when I do it on the show, my throat's like, whoa, why are you trying to do a man voice, you bitch? Then I gotta take a sip. But yeah, no disrespect to firefighters, man. But yeah, the chief was there, man. He would always be like, yeah, I'm the chief. Another round on me. I'm like, don't you have to kind of like check in? You know, that sounded like a pretty big issue down by the high school. He's like, fuck the high school. They haven't won a game since 98. He's like, now if the Jets get a good defensive end, I think. And I'm like, all right. All right. The chef would literally get mad at how many cheeseburger sliders they ordered. Because, like, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, all the firefighters would just come in hammered and be like, hey, you want cheeseburgers? Yeah, get the cheeseburgers and the meatball sliders. And the chef just couldn't keep up. He's like, don't these people have to, like, put fires out? Like, what? What's going on? But I'm like, hey, it's a good job. And there's no accountability because chances are your twin brother's a cop. So, you know, he's not going to arrest you. He's just going to wave you on, hey, Frank, as you drive 8 beers in to put out the fire. I don't know. I tell firefighters to get a job, man. All right. Just kidding. But, yeah, man. I don't know. I had a friend. His dad was an undercover cop. He told me that, like, first day of 4th grade. He's like, hi, I'm Blake. My dad's an undercover cop. I'm like, well, keep telling people he ain't going to be for that much longer. You know, probably like the worst son to have if you were an undercover cop is the son that's going to public school and telling everybody that you are an undercover cop. And he's like, hi, my dad's an undercover cop. I'm like, what if I was slinging drugs on the playground? You know, now I know to look for your parent. I know to look for your dad at the parent-teacher conference so I can identify him. Thanks for the heads up, you know. Really bad, dude. He couldn't wait to tell you something new that his dad was doing. He's like, oh, my dad's growing his hair out for a sting operation. You're like, okay. You know. He's like, hey, my dad dyed his hair. I'm like, are you trying to get your dad killed? Like, what kind of, you know, does he hit you and now you, like, try to try to find criminals that, like, you can point out your dad to him? So weird, man. He's like, he's getting real close to tracking down this guy, Ricardo Valdez. He's the largest narcotics dealer in all of Florida. I'm like, shh. I don't want to be involved in this, you know? I got my whole recess ahead of me. I don't need to be involved with the cartel. I always thought, like, in those drug dealing movies, you know how they always meet on, like, the helicopter pad? You know, the helicopter lands, guy comes out like a few briefcases. They exchange, like, make sure this gets to Pablo. And they just do that little nod. I wonder if you stood on a helicopter pad or, like, under a bridge, you know, where drug deals go down, and you just kind of wait. They'll think you're the guy that they're supposed to give the kilo to. Helicopter lands. They're like, are you the guy? You're like, yeah, of course I'm the guy. There's no one else here. Of course I'm the guy. They're like, they just sent one person. You're like, yeah, just me. Well, then you probably get, you know, a risk of getting killed. But I just thought it'd be funny if they're like, are you the guy? You're like, yeah. And they just give you a duffel bag with like $6 million in it. And you're like, oh, all right, I'll definitely make sure this gets to where it needs to go. And you just fucking take a flight far away from there as possible. We got some Florida man news. See if I can pull it up here. It was a light one this week. We kept it light. We didn't want to, some of them get a little brutal, but no blood was shed here. All right. No harm was done. A Florida man attempts to flirt with a judge during a bond court appearance. And I have the video here. Oh, if it loads. He was like, "Oh, judge, you beautiful, judge. You so beautiful." She's like kind of smiling. That's not going to play. But she's like smiling and blushing. And then it made me wonder, I'm like, did she, did this woman, because she's like not like an old judge. You know how some judges, they just have like that wart, She's like a young, like, this is a girl you'd see. Yeah, this is weird. She's probably got like a TikTok. But yeah, she's a judge. And I'm like, I don't know. You think some women, definitely correctional officers, get into that line of work because they kind of have like a felon fetish? And that's got to be a thing, dude. Because you watch those prison shows and they're like, oh, and this killer was sleeping with all the female correctional officers. And you're like, man, some women definitely have a thing for that for sure. But yeah, so the guy was definitely shooting something, but it wasn't a Glock. He was just shooting his shot. And he is coming off an assault with a deadly weapon charge. So, I guess he didn't sexually assault, but I was trying to make a joke. My fault. But anyway, he didn't assault anyone, but he sexually assaulted someone. I'll be here all week. What a hack. Yeah, it was a Florida man news. Just keep it nice and light. But yeah, man, I was just thinking, that's definitely a thing, man. Women love like serial killer stuff. And my sister will deny it. She's like, I only watch serial killer documentaries, so I know what to look out for. I can tell the signs. And I'm like, okay. That's a way to get around that you have like a weird thing to watch. Every woman watches those like murder mysteries. They love it. Nancy's like, oh, I'm watching this unsolved murder. I'm like, oh, that's nice. I'm just like, if it doesn't make me laugh or like, I don't need to see that some guy got away with 19 murders. I'm good. I don't want that. I don't want that on my head right before bed. Okay. Yeah, my aunt, she lives in Texas. She went to college with Ted Bundy, and she loves to show that class photo where they're in it together. She points, she's like, this is me, and over here is Ted Bundy. And I'm like, do you get off to this? What's wrong with you? There's some women that definitely become correctional officers just to try and sleep with that serial killer. Like some women are like, oh, I slept with this celebrity. People that chase that. But then there's probably people that are like, oh, I slept with Hannibal Lecter or some crazy shit. Women are out of control. That's why we don't do Florida woman news. Because, it's a little different than Florida man. Florida man, you can get like, hey, Florida man, trips over his snake collection and lands in a fucking ball pit. Haha. But like the Florida women news, that's different, man. I thought we'd do both for like equality reasons, but women are all about getting rid of the kids. Okay. Florida women love to get rid of the kids so they can hit that daiquiri deck one more time. You can't face plant into the beautiful white sand drunk when you got a little one at the house. Okay. Got to make it look like an accident. These are jokes. I realized women loved like criminals in high school. I don't know what it is. Something about a guy not being legally allowed to vote that's attractive to some women in Bradenton, Florida. Okay. There's always these girls with the infinity symbol tatted on them. You know, letting everyone know that they're going to be a basic bitch forever. To infinity and beyond. Basic tattoos. You know, they weren't even good. They were in like under the shoulder. I'm like, what is that? Yeah, girls in my school were like, especially the seniors, they were always dating some guy in like community college. They're like, Jeremy's 23, so he can buy me beer. And we can get fucked up at his mom's house because she's on pills, so she doesn't care. You know, if we give her a couple perk 30s, she'll even party with us. Like, whoa, sounds like a great family to marry into. Enjoy your career at Hooters while raising 3 kids alone. As Jeremy bounces in and out of county on possession charges and petty theft at the Walmart. You know, at least you can work on your spelling while you're writing letters back and forth. You know, you could have drove down there and did an in-person visitation if you could fit the kids in the car to drive down there, you know. But that 2001 Mustang ain't so cool anymore with the back seats missing to fit the extra speakers. You know, so now you can't fit your sons Hunter and Bryce in the car and drive them down to see their dad. You know, you could have double buckled them in the passenger seat, but it wouldn't slide back because there was too many Four Loko cans wedged under there. That is accurate, okay? Anyone that grew up in the 941 knows exactly who the fuck I'm talking about. And it's not one person. Okay, that same scenario has been copy and pasted 50,000 times, and that is the town of Bradenton, Florida. Yes, I still have friends there, but my friends that are still there, keep it pushing. Okay? They're not just like in front of a Walmart trying to bum a cig like the rest of you animals. Love to do a show there. Miss you guys. I moved to Florida. What was I? I was probably I was 11, 4th grade, going into 5th grade. I remember 4th grade was short because I did like something with the summer schedule where in Washington, D.C., like they graduate this month, and then in Florida there was like an extra 3 months. So I just remember I like barely did 4th grade. But I moved down there, and man, we had a big pond in our backyard. It was man-made. They called it like, waterfront living or whatever, but it's just like some retention pond, you know, that catches rainwater. So they had like a shit ton of gators in there. And I had never seen an alligator before. So, you know, we're feeding them hot dogs. They're getting real big. I had a remote control boat, and I would drive it by the gator, piss them off. You know, one day the propeller came off because I ran into the gator with it, and then it ate my boat. But yeah, it was fun messing with the gators, man, and they got real big. One of them was like 10 foot, ate the neighbor's dog. And don't feel bad. She put it in like little hats and sweaters. It probably just jumped in, honestly. It was like, I'm tired of being in this stroller. I'm a dog, you know. I'm faster than you, lady. So he probably just jumped in. And then she called this service, which I had never seen before, you know. It's like some Animal Planet shit. This service, it's like you know, I thought it would be like a van with like 4 guys, you know, a company uniform with like a phone number to come remove the gator, but it's not. It's just like an angry guy in a pickup truck, and, you know, he just drives right up in the backyard, and he's like, "Where's it at?" I'm like, "Oh, it's in the water, sir." You know, no one went to school for this shit. You know, I asked him, I'm like, "How'd you get into this, man?" He was like, "Well, it was either this or Papa John's." I'm like, "All right. This or Papa John's?" He's like, "Yeah, easy choice." I'm like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah. Papa John's makes you wear a shirt. I can't do that corporate shit." I'm like, "All right. I don't know if that's corporate, but I like this guy." He was trying to convince me. He's like, "Man, when you're old enough, you should come work for me, man. You should come work for me. You know why? It's good hours. It's real good hours." He's like, "As a matter of fact, you could pick your own hours." I'm like, "Really? You can pick your own hours?" He goes, "Yeah. If I don't get the gator at 3 o'clock, ain't no one getting it at 4. He goes, "This is a niche market, man. No one wants to do this shit." I'm like, "All right, well, do you have a business card I can call you?" He's like, hold out your hand. And he just put a shark's tooth right in my hand. I'm like, all right. He's like, you know where to find me. It's like a weird redneck Joker. He's like, oh, here's my card. You know, it's the Joker card. This dude's just putting like fucking teeth in my hand. Yeah, I remember he was like, all right, I'm going to throw the chicken. I'm gonna bait the gator up here. And then you kids get the tail. I'm like, we're 12. You know, we don't work for you. He's like, well, let's do an internship. I'm like, nope, we're going to throw the football. And I'm like, you have backup. Dude, that's the thing about this guy. He had backup. I think it was his brother or his cousin. But his cousin was too busy playing with the animals that they had already caught previously that day. So he's like, oh, look at the little raccoon. You know, he's letting like a big snake wrap around him. They had every kind of animal in the back. I just remember that was quite the experience. And if you don't know what a gator is, alligator, gators. You know, white people wrestle them. Black people wear them as shoes to church. Gators. And that's why I love black people, because they only fuck with wildlife once it becomes fashion. Okay? You know, black dude will be like, oh, is that a python? I'm getting the fuck out of here. Python skin Nikes, I hope they have my size. You know, they'd be like, oh, you know, your black friend would be like, look, they put the rattlesnake rattle in the shoe. You know, moonwalking and shit. I remember I valeted at the Orlando Mall, like 30 minutes from here. And it was all the athletes, and they had one guy, he pulled up in a Camaro, and the whole interior was like gator skin. The seats, the armrest, the glove compartment, the dashboard, the ceiling, the gear shifter, the steering wheel. And I was like, damn, man, is this real alligator? And all he said was 50,000 on that shit. 50,000 on that. And I'm like, all right, I guess it's real. Or really expensive fake gator skin. But that was funny because I'm like, that's like 4 alligators in this car. You would never go near that many. It's funny, man. But yeah, I think that'll do it for episode 36. Thank you for being here. And as always, at Sean Madden Comedy on Instagram. The YouTube, I'm adding comedy, stand-up videos. I got a sketch coming out this week, so be on the lookout for that. Some Florida Man stuff. Speaking of Florida Man. And, yeah, man, that'll do it. We'll be back next Monday. Enjoy your week.